What's up, Habs fans? First of all, sorry if I don't sound great. I'm just recovering from COVID. Secondly, wanted to make this video to talk about the career of Carey Price. Now, yes, I know his career is not technically over. He's not technically retired, but let's be honest, he's probably not coming back. And to see if, you know, the haters are right. Are they right? Was Carey Price's career truly a failure, as a lot of people like to say it was? So we're going to go through a few things. One, we're going to go through his playing career, not just in the NHL, but also the WHL, his stints in the AHL. We're going to look at his Olympic career. We're going to look at his World Junior tournament. And we're going to see just how much of a success Price's career was. And I'm also going to look at a lot of Habs fans' favorite moments of Carey Price and what other fan bases think of him. I polled a few people online, which I know is just the greatest place to get honest opinions and factual facts. But, just to see what the general hockey fan base feels about Carey Price. So, we're going to start with his World Junior Championship tournament, if this will load. Thank you. Now, the 2007 World Juniors, Canada won their third gold medal in a row, beating Russia in the gold medal game, and Carey Price just played absolutely amazing in that, getting a 1.14 goals against average and being named tournament MVP. Before he was drafted, he played for the Tri-City Americans in the WHL, where he had a .915 save percentage, 2.5 goals against average, and sporting an 83, 78, and 18 record in the WHL. And then, as we all know, he was picked 5th overall in the 2005 NHL draft by the Montreal Canadiens. He was first signed to the team's AHL affiliate at the time, Hamilton Bulldogs, in 2006-2007, where he won the Jackie Butterfield Trophy. And then his first career game in the NHL was against the Pittsburgh Penguins in October of 2007. And it was a 3-2 win where he got 26 saves. And eventually he took over the starting job for Cristobal Hewitt. Habs made the playoffs that season, and they actually shut out Boston in his first playoff game. And he was the first Habs rookie to shut out his first playoff game since Patrick Waugh. The Habs did fall to Philly in the second round in that playoffs, unfortunately. But it was the start of something promising. December 2008, he suffered his first major NHL injury, which was an ankle injury. In 09-10, the Habs got Yaroslav Halak, who took over the starting role over Price. And, the Habs made it to the playoffs. They were an 8th seed. They're facing a really tough team in the first round. They're not going to do much. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals somehow. Halak, oh my God, he just stopped everything that postseason. Price played a couple games that postseason. One was a loss. 3 were no contest or no decision. Price did play in the Centennial Anniversary game that season as well, stopping 37 of 38 in a 5-1 win over the Bruins. But that led us to summer of 2010. The Habs had a major decision to make. Do they keep Price, or do they keep the white-hot Yaroslav Halak? They decided to go with the young guy in Carey Price and traded Halak to St. Louis, giving Price a 2-year, $5.5 million contract to prove himself. Well, he got his 100th win in October 2011. And, over those couple years, the Habs decided that he was worth extending. He got a new contract, 6 years at $39 million in July of 2012. And then in 2012-13, Price suffered a groin injury in the playoffs against the Senators. 2013-2014 seasons, we're actually going to start in Sochi at the Olympics, where Price started and won all 6 of his games, 2 of them being shutouts, and got the tournament MVP on the way to a gold medal. Played absolutely amazing. Continued to play amazing when he got back to the NHL. And, they were facing the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And, yeah, we're going to talk about that. The Kreider hit. Many of you have seen this, especially if you're Habs fans. I'm sure almost every hockey fan has seen this play. Kreider was sliding on his butt towards the net. His skate hit Price. Price tried to stay in. He allowed 2 more goals that period, went out at the end of the period. Just a horrible injury. Honestly, the Habs they could have made it past the Rangers. They weren't going to win the Cup that year. But, it was just horrifying. But the next season, he did play the best season of his career overall. 2014-2015, the Habs won the Atlantic. He led the league in goals against average, save percentage, and wins. He won the Hart, the Vezina, the Ted Lindsay, and the William M. Jennings. He tied that one with Corey Crawford in Chicago. He was the second player in all of Habs history to win 4 awards in 1 year, which was absolutely amazing. 2015-2016, a lot of people are excited to see what Price is going to do. He suffers a knee injury early in the season. He's only expected to be out a couple of weeks, and then he turns out to be out for the full season. 2016-2017, the Habs, Carey Price actually sets the record for most consecutive wins to start the season. That record was later broken by Jack Campbell of the Toronto Maple Leafs. In July of 2017, the Habs decide, you've had a few injuries, but we are going to extend you. And he becomes the highest paid goaltender in the NHL with an 8-year, $84 million contract. That's $10.5 million per year until 2025-26, which, if he stayed healthy, would have been easy. That money's completely worth it. But he just couldn't. 2017-18, a lower body injury took him out. He suffered a concussion later in that year. Despite that, he did set the Habs record for starts that season, passing Jacques Plante. He ended up making it to second in goalie wins past Waugh after shutting out Boston. 2018-2019, he ended up passing Plante for Habs win record after a 3-1 victory over Detroit. And then 2019-2020, the COVID season. The Habs are not playing great. They were swept by the last place Red Wings. It wasn't fun. But COVID hits, and, all sports stop. You all know about this. The NHL announces that they're bringing in an expanded playoff format that the Habs are somehow in. Sorry, Buffalo. They're facing the Pittsburgh Penguins. And, well, it's rumored that the NHL's original plan, by the way, was supposed to be a 3-game play-in series. And that the Penguins pushed for that to be longer because Price was coming back, and they felt that 3 games was unfair. So the Habs beat them 3-1 in that series. They fell to the Flyers in the first round of that playoffs, but, it was something. And then 2020-2021. COVID made it so you couldn't cross the border, so all Canadian division season. Price suffers a concussion versus Edmonton in April. He plays 1 game with the Rocket before he ends up coming back, which, if I remember correctly, they were absolutely destroyed in. The Habs make the last playoff spot in the North, which for several weeks, all they needed was one measly point, and they kept losing in regulation. And I was so happy when they went to overtime. I think it was against the Senators. They officially made the playoffs. I can't even remember if they won that game. But in the playoffs, they played a good first game, and then they went down 3-1 against the Leafs. And I was so depressed at that point. I thought the Leafs are going to break their first round drought against the Habs. This couldn't be any worse. And then, well, as you all know, they had a 3-0 lead in game 5. Game 6. Game 5. I can't do math. In game 5, blew that, ended up winning in overtime after a turnover. Game 6, they had a 2-0 lead, blew that, won it in overtime with a turnover. And then game 7, the Leafs gave up apparently, and the Habs ended up winning. They swept the Jets, beat the Knights in 6, which, by the way, 2 of the best saves in those playoffs, I think, were one on Spezza in the first round, an amazing diving paddle save. And against the Knights, I believe it was a 2-on-1 save on Stone. He gave the iconic Patrick Waugh wink. And when they faced the Lightning, yeah, it all fell apart. Team just couldn't score goals against Tampa, and Price wasn't enough to get them any wins except for that one in overtime. 2021 was the Seattle expansion, and, well, Price waived his no-movement clause, which scared every Habs fan to death because everyone thought, oh, Seattle's going to take Carey because, But they decided that they were not. They took Cale Fleury. The Habs wanted to do this so that they could protect Jake Allen instead. They figured that Price's contract was too big for a new team to take on, and they were right. They were right, luckily. 2021-22, we're beginning to get into the really not fun stuff here. Price was initially out with an injury on his knee. Later on, it was revealed that he is joining the NHLPA Player Assistance Program. And I just want to bring this up. Mental health is extremely important. And for an athlete, and especially hockey, where talking about your mental health is extremely taboo, even still, I think it was amazing of Price to come out and talk about this. Obviously, he hasn't shared a lot, and we don't expect him to. But he was battling substance abuse, and, just him coming out and talking about it shows that, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a man, if you're in, professional sports, you can still talk about this stuff, which I think is sending a very, very important message to a lot of young men around the world. After he left the program, he began to rehab his knee. The team just fell apart while he was gone. They didn't have him. They didn't have Captain Shea Weber. He did join late in the season. His first game was a 3-0 loss against the Islanders. He did eventually win one game that season. The last game of the season, which was a 10-2 surprising stomping of the Florida Panthers. I still don't know how that game happened. I know Florida wasn't trying. They were focusing on the playoffs coming up, but, come on. We sucked. 2022-23. Price didn't play a single game last season, but there was a few things that did happen with him. He was introduced in the player introductions in the season opener against the Leafs, which a lot of Leafs fans complained about because they said it took too long, but we all know it was for Price. He received a huge standing ovation. He's obviously still well-loved in this this city. I don't live in Montreal, but by Habs fans. But recently, his wife hinted that he is retiring. He's currently living in BC. There's possible plans that he will return at the beginning of the season, but most of us don't expect it's to play. We're all expecting, he's going to have some sort of leadership role with the team. So, as of this point in his season, if it's not over at this point, if it's over, then he finished the season with an NHL record of 361, 261, and 79, 2.52 goals against average, 917 save percentage, and several awards, including a Jack A. Butterfield, a Hart, a William Jennings, a Vezina, a Ted Lindsay, Bill Matheson, and an Olympic gold medal. So, obviously, the main thing missing there is a Stanley Cup. And there are two main reasons that you could point to for Price never getting his cup. One of them is injuries. He faced so many injuries throughout his career. There's not many seasons that he was able to play a full season, and obviously that makes it a lot harder to win a cup, especially when your backups, they're not horrible, but they're not Carey Price. The other reason, and this is the one that most fans of other teams point to, is the lack of any goal scoring for the team, which was another huge issue. He never even played with a 40-goal scorer in his entire career, which, if you can't score goals, how are you going to win? Like, in a 2021 playoffs, I believe for a while, if the Habs scored at least 2 goals in any game, Price got them to a win, which for most teams is impossible. But, because the team wasn't really focused too much on goal scoring, they were focused more on Price. Price is the reason they went so deep. And, it worked against the Leafs. It worked against the Jets. Worked very well against the Jets. It worked against the Knights. Also, we had Fleury's help turning the puck over. That was absolutely hilarious. But, you just couldn't stop the juggernaut in Tampa Bay Lightning with that strategy. And, I can't personally say that not winning a Stanley Cup means that your entire career is a failure. He has an Olympic gold. He has World Junior gold. He has all these individual trophies. Obviously, he would have loved to get a Stanley Cup. But, personally, I don't feel like his career was a failure. But let's end on a few positive notes. We're going to the impressions that I got from other fans around the league and, see what they thought of Carey Price. I'm going to start out with the only Habs fan that commented. He said, "I'm a Habs fan since the early 70s. Price was a great person, teammate, and goaltender on a horrible Habs teams. He earned the franchise. He carried the franchise ever since he was part of that team. He deserved for a team to get him at least one 50-goal scorer and top defenseman." Someone replied, 50-goal scorer is a little much to ask. And he's like, at least a 40-goal scorer would have been nice. Which, yeah, it would have. There was one Islanders fan who commented. He said he was good enough to win cups, but never really had the team to do it. Amazing person and gave a lot back to the community. He had the demons he had to face that shortened his last few years, which, I agree with that. A Blackhawks fan said, definitely an elite goaltender that any team would have been lucky to have in his prime years. One Bruins fan said that, honestly, I love Price. He had a great career. Unfortunately, Montreal wasted his career, which is what we talked about. And then a couple Lightning fans also commented. One said that he was one of the best goalies of this generation, stuck out on a team that habitually underachieved and left him out to dry. If he had a competent GM, probably would have won a lot more hardware in his career. I kind of agree with that. habitual underachieving, it's really because they didn't have any goal scoring at all. You can't really underachieve if you don't have the ability to achieve that well. The last Lightning fan commented very specifically, remember a loss to Montreal in 2017 or 2018, and it was a shootout win for Montreal. Price absolutely stole that game so much that the local Tampa commenters were going nuts on 2 Hasek-style saves that he made on Tyler Johnson and Andre Palat. Worth looking up, despite our finals win in 2021. I'm still salty about losing that game. I mean, come on, man. You won the finals against us. It's one regular season game. But, yeah. So, basically, other fans think that he was extremely talented and that the team around him just couldn't get him anything. But we're going to end on a positive note and talk about 4 of the consensus Habs fans' favorite moments of Price's career. The first one was the second game in the 2019-2020 season, where the Habs were down 4-1 to the Leafs. They ended up coming back, going to a shootout, and Price manages to stop the $33 million line of Marner, Matthews, and Tavares. Barely needing to move to stop them because his positioning was just that good. A lot of us Habs fans were laughing at Leafs fans saying, oh, that line's so expensive he couldn't get a single goal in the shootout. But a couple of them clapped back with the honest. The goalie's expensive too, which, yeah, fair. That's fair. Another one was a specific save on Ovechkin. If you look it up, I think you can just look up Price save on Ovechkin. It should be one of the first things to come up. Just an amazing save as time is expiring. I believe it was just in the period, not in the game. But Ovechkin's just so impressed. He just looks shocked and just gives him a little clap. It was absolutely amazing. Another consensus, the triple low 5 with PK Subban. We all loved that. And, my personal favorite moment of Price's actually wasn't on the ice at all. A couple of years ago, they were having a practice in Toronto. And as they're leaving the ice, a young fan talks to Carey and, kid's crying. Carey gives him a hug, gives him a stick. The kid recently had lost his mother to cancer, and Price is just such an amazing person. Comforted the kid, ended up bringing him onto the NHL awards later that year. Most wholesome moments, honestly, in all sports that I can remember. Seriously, look it up. It's going to make you cry. It's making me cry. Think about it. But just shows how amazing of a person he is and how much he cares about the community. So, in conclusion, was Price's career a failure? If you think that getting a Stanley Cup is the only mark of success, sure. But he had so much other success in his career. Like I said, we all wish he won a cup. But I personally would not say that his career was a true failure. So, that'll be it for me. Blessed be. Go Habs go.